evening, everyone. I had to chuckle to myself because our special guest for tonight, I was like, I think you're in the video. And I was looking, I did see her in there. So I'm excited to see Vanessa Riley. So I've already kind of spilled the beans as to who our special guest is for the evening, in case you didn't know. But I am your girl, Marcy Thomas, founder of Brown Girl Collective and the BGC Book Club. And I am so excited to be here with you again with one of my favorite authors. She's been here more than once, and she knows this is always a welcome space for her to come and talk about her work. So I'm ready to dive into it. And so for anyone who's coming here for the first time, please feel free to let us know that, or you can drop a line and let us know where you're joining us from. Just anything that we can do here to have community and really be able to get into this wonderful, great mystery novel. So I've already introduced our guest, kind of, sort of. So let me tell you a little bit more about her. So Vanessa Riley is an award-winning author of historical romance, mystery, and fiction novels featuring realistic multicultural communities and powerful persons of color. Just last year in 2023, she was awarded the Georgia Literary Fiction Author of the Year for her book, Sister, Mother, Warrior, but she also has other titles like Island Queen and Queen of Exiles. Now, to fuel her interest in the Regency and early Victorian eras, she made time for attending Renaissance fairs and consuming period novels and films while obtaining her PhD. You heard that. She is Dr. Vanessa Riley in mechanical engineering and a master's in industrial engineering and engineering management from Stanford University, as well as a BS and MS in mechanical engineering from Penn State University. So I want to talk a little bit with her about how the engineering background helps her to craft such wonderful novels. Now, she is a frequent speaker at literary, women's, and STEM events and lives in Atlanta, Georgia, as do I, but she resides with her military husband and teenagers. So without any further delay, let's welcome Vanessa Riley to BGC Book Club yet again.
Hello. Thank you, Marcy, and thank you for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here with you. You're always a ton of fun.
Yes. And somebody, as I was mentioning to you, last week's guest was talking about how much she loves you. And I'm like, yeah, she's fun. You do great videos and all kinds of things to keep people engaged with you. And I really love that work that you do. So
Thank you.
I do want to congratulate you on Murder in Berkley Square, which just came out a week ago.
Yes, so I'm excited. It's the third Lady Worthing mystery. So
yes, it is
more and more unfolding in her onion of her life.
Yes, and it's such a good book. We were talking about it a little bit before we came on. It's a really good story. So for those of you all who have read the first two, I definitely suggest you dive into this one as well, because it's such a great story. And as you said, we get to know more about Lady Worthing, and it's good. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. And it's a really juicy book. So, well, first of all, I kind of sort of mentioned the fact that I wanted to know, how does your work as an engineer really help you to do all these things and craft all these stories?
Engineering has really paved the way for me to do a lot of things, particularly in fiction, which is, most people think it's a left brain, right brain thing, but there's an order to the way a mystery has to unfold. There is a methodology, so to speak, of how our sleuth, Lady Worthing, how is she going to solve this mystery? But engineering for me has always asked me two very specific questions: the hows and the whys. So it causes me to dig in deep. So whether I was working on fuel systems for General Motors, or rocketry with NASA, or different assignments with Hewlett Packard, it was always digging, how is this the best way to approach a system? Why is it going to work this way? What are the benefits? So there's lots and lots of question asking. I take that, my approach, to all of my fiction, because particularly when I'm writing these period pieces, I want you to feel like you're there. And people in the past were logical. They went specific places for reasons. They dressed the way they did for reasons. I want that to be reflective in a novel. So if you ever read a Vanessa Riley novel, those are real places. If I mention a street, it's a real street. For Berkley Square, I actually had maps of the houses during that time frame. So I'm mapping out, okay, how long is it going to take Lady Worthing to run from one
Mhm.
square to the other side of the square? Does it make sense? And those are so it's like the engineering goes in there and making sure that the story is logical, that it's grounded in facts. And then the artsy side of me, the storyteller in me, is going to make sure that I'm going to engage you from the beginning to the end. We're going to sweep you along, and you want to root for people, or you want to say, why didn't that person get killed?
Right.
Moving with the book as you go along.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that, because it definitely shows, because the book is very meticulous and there's so many different things going on. And, of course, in a murder mystery, it's almost like Clue. I never played Clue, but as I was reading the book, I kept thinking about, I guess this is like Clue. We were trying to figure out, okay, so-and-so did it in this place, in this space, or whatever the case may be. So, of course, because you have such a love for like historical romance, historical fiction in general, what is it that drew you to want to write historical fiction mysteries?
I think even in my romances, which is where I got started, there was always a mystery element, because that was the kind of romances I was reading. The hero and heroine was some problem. There was somebody stalking them. They were running for their lives and falling in love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you take the falling in love part out? You're just running for your lives. And so it's natural progression. And the series particularly, I just done Sister Mother Warrior, and I'd done all this research in this in Haiti, and Haiti becoming free. And I found this really odd fact that in 1806, when Haiti is free, all the abolition movements in the world stop. Literally, and the fathers of the abolition movement, particularly in England, William Wilberforce, Elijah Macaulay, Thomas Clarkson, they are all sitting around like, we were good with y'all being free, but now y'all want to run a country. I don't know about all that. And y'all had a military that had kicked out France, which at that point in the world was one of the world's super world powers. So it's like there was a lot of unease. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what if you were a woman of color, a Black woman in this time frame, and you thought the world was going the right way, and you have privilege and you have access? Are you going to sit around, or are you going to try and use that? And so that's Lady Worthing's goal. She wants to try and get the abolition movement going, but she's a Black woman in a space that doesn't necessarily want her to be there, who thinks she's advantageously married, so they don't want her as, think about it. Sometimes some people struggle to say the word Lady Worthing, right? Or Baroness Worthing, and those types of things, because they don't believe she belongs there. So she's fighting for this belief that she has. She's fighting for her space, and people are dying around her. And so that part of her mind where she wants to figure things out is highly engaged. And so you have this the third movie. So I gave you Murder in a Church, that's Murder in Westminster, Murder in Drury Lane, Murder in a Theater. And so now we have Murder in a Neighborhood, Berkley Square.
Yes, and it's just so good. Lady Worthing is a worthy character. So for those who may not have had a chance to really read any of the books yet, what is it that made her someone that you wanted to, not only write one book about, but to be able to flesh out multiple stories? And as you say, as a Black woman at this time, what was it that drew you to her specifically?
I loved Dynasty. And so when you had Diane Carroll come out, and I would imagine that Abigail is Diane Carroll's daughter, so to speak. So that's why her name is Abigail Carrington Monroe. Her father has a solicitation firm, which is Carrington and Ewing. So y'all see where we're going, right?
Yes.
and so that power, right? And so dressing the part is very important. And in these mysteries, you can jump in any one of the books, but if you're reading the whole series, you see her growth. You see how things are progressing. And so by this third book, this is a more personal book for Abby, because she has figured out that her husband has ditched her. He married her because she saved his neck. He was going to go to the gallows for a certain crime. She figured it out. She marries him. And then he leaves. He's an explorer. He's going and exploring the world. And it's become relevant over the past 2 books. He doesn't seem like he wants to come back.
Right.
What does she do? What does she go on with her life? And she's at that point where she's figuring out, maybe I deserve more. She had a lot of reasons in the book. This one goes through some of those reasons of why she married him and why she thought she was saving her family, and she ends up losing her family because of this decision. So she's coming into her own, and what does that mean, right? And in a world where marriage is so important,
Right.
what does that mean to divorce him, to seek an annulment of a marriage or something to that effect? So you got a lot of that drama going on.
Yes, there is a lot going on, y'all.
Yeah. You've got Jean-Jacques Dessalines has the rumors that he's been assassinated is happening. So, like, once again, the catalyst in 1806 of all this crazy is because of Haiti, and now the man who liberates Haiti is rumored he's been assassinated. And she doesn't know if that's just rumors, that's just the newspaper saying things. So that's tooling in the background. And then you have the murder mysteries itself. So Abby and her cousin, she's like, I'm going to my auntie's house. I want the black cake. I want, I want to sit around and have fun with my family. That is where I'm going. And so, that's in Cheapside, but London is snowy. It's terrible. Nobody can get through. So her neighbor, who was going in that direction, allegedly, says, hey, I can take you guys. But I have to make this one stop. And he has to make the stop at Berkley Square because he's been invited to the men's night of regrets. So Lord Duncan, who's the magistrate, who Abby has worked for, who is somewhat of a mentor to Abby, has invited men to come to his house. And he does this once a year. He calls it Night of Regrets. And it's over great wine and brandy. And the men sit around smoking and they talk about the one thing they regret every year. And Stapleton this year has been invited because now he's become more familiar with, but he knows there's something Jack gonna go down because he got this little piece of the Rebels rhyme in his invitation, which is the Rebel rhyme is an homage to go back to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, where there's this poetic poem that shows how these rich folks on a deserted island get knocked off one by one. The story actually, and one of the reasons I want to highlight that is because it has a really this is a nursery rhyme. The nursery rhyme really goes back to like early 1800s, where they would teach little children what to do if they ran into a little black boy whom they assumed was enslaved, whatnot. And then there were none, right? So all these different things happen. And then, at different points in time, the world tries to clean up this nursery rhyme and it goes to Indians. And then finally it's soldiers. But I was like, what if we take this toxic history and we make it the rebellions? We go back to remember all the islands and the Caribbean are having a rebellion. What if this was something that the rebels chanted to intimidate Massa, to let him know we're coming for you? So that is the Rebels rhyme, and that runs throughout the book, and piecing it back together and figuring out who's going to die and how they die is part of Abby and Florentina and Stapleton's path to stay alive for Christmas, because nothing like murder.
Yes, it's like, we're trying to do all this before Christmas, right? But yes, I love that you, of course, you're going to pull the history in, but I love the fact that you do have that to kind of guide you through the story, because we start out with that before we even see the first murder. We start to like, okay, now what is this with this rhyme, and how does this rhyme play a part? So I love that you shared with us that historical context. And then also you mentioned Agatha Christie, because she is a literary shero of yours, and so this is like your take on something that she has written in the past.
Yes, and this is what we call difficult history. Like, I love Agatha Christie. I love that mind of how she put it through. And Then There Were None was originally titled 10 Little Inn Boys after this poem. And it's like, when you think about, subsequent, it took them till I think till the 80s or something before they retitled it. And then it was 10 Little Indians. And then finally and then there were none. But that world where that was acceptable to me
Mhm.
is insane. And it's people want to hide the past.
Right.
And it's important because this is how hate is taught. You're teaching this in nursery rhymes. And so if we can spotlight it in a way that people can realize, look, this is
Right.
how do you feel if this is now twisted and looked at as you? So, and Agatha, to her credit, she uses this rhyme to get some very influential people killed, sitting on an island somewhere. So she puts them on a deserted island, and influential people who deserve to die are getting knocked off. So murder in
Mm.
Berkley Square is these rich neighbors. They all have things that they've done shadily or have big guilt on something that's happened in the past. And now they're getting knocked off by the Rebels rhyme poem. So
Right. So of course, Berkley Square, we're seeing something similar. It's winter time, it's a horrible storm, and so these people are, confined to this space, and we watch this play out throughout the
yes,
story.
yes.
So I mean, as I told you before we came on, it's like woo. So if you have never watched any of these shows for BGC Book Club, just know we're not going to give you spoilers. We're just going to talk about some of the themes and some of what to expect when you decide to read. So you still got to go get the book and read it.
Yes,
So
you
just
absolutely do.
clear
You absolutely do.
with that. But it was interesting because, of course, we have, and this isn't giving anything away. We have Abigail in this space with her cousin, and of course, the gentleman as well that are, and her maid, they're all in this space. Then they weren't supposed to be there.
No women were supposed to be there.
No
So
women were supposed to be there.
you
So
got
that's the thing just off the top, that this was a very male centric. And I mean, it's no different from some of the things we see nowadays where men, there's the boys club and they get in this space and they say all these things, and they don't want women in the room. Even women who are powerful, even women who, have the ability to add value, they still don't want them in the space. So I found that just in and of itself was just interesting to see how things started shifting a little bit when you introduce these women into this space.
exactly. So it's you get to play. I love playing with history, and it's like, how do we tell this tale, and how do we challenge? We want to challenge Abby, right? Because they know it's very clear that they're not wanted in this space.
Right.
But Lord Duncan is the mentor kind of person, so he's not. He's going to definitely have everybody be cool, but he's got his own drama that's going on.
Right.
He's still mourning. Not to add a spoiler, but he's still mourning his first wife, which
Mm-hmm.
we sort of might blame people in that room for.
Right.
So
Right.
we don't know who, and that part of Abby's drama is, what if my mentor is the man responsible for killing these people? What do I do?
Right. And yeah, and just watching that or reading that, it's like, wow, so to be in this space and you want to be a part of things, but then there's a fear factor as well, because once you kind of start to see what's happening when people are like leaving here, we're like, wait a minute, am I putting myself in harm's way by even being in this space?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I mean,
having that
yeah.
seat at the table is dangerous.
Come on now, it is. I mean, I know we're talking about a murder mystery, but in real life, sometimes it can be dangerous to be in a space where you're really not wanted, but yet you need to be there because you're trying to find some things out. So yes, it's very, the story is just written so well. But
Thank you.
what I also love, of course, in the genre of murder mystery, like a whodunit is really what it is. You're trying to figure out who did it, but every character that's in this book, with the exception of the people, who just showed up, everybody that's in this space has a reason to be causing these deaths, and there are multiple. And you're like trying to figure, okay, well, this person died, well, so and so could have done it, but then so and so had a reason to do it. And so for you as a writer, I know at the beginning of the book you have like a list of characters and all those sorts of things. So how challenging was it, or was it challenging for you to just keep all those different stories and characters and through lines going in the book?
There's a good level of difficulty because I have made a new promise to all my readers, because my books do have a lot of characters. I'm going to give you a list beginning
Yes.
of the book so that you can keep these names straight, right? And Abby actually is a list girl, so you start seeing the list actually show up when she's
Yes.
making her notes,
Mhm.
as she's trying to figure out who's done it. But I have timelines, right? So you've got timelines, and when you introduce a murder is very specific, because there's a pacing to all books have pacings, but in
Yes.
murder mysteries, it's exceedingly, the audience wants to know what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next, boom, 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 boom. And so I have to script it out, and when I start, I believe I know who did it,
Okay.
and I'm setting that up. But there are times where the characters, how they finally have come out on the page, oh no, you real guilty. You really,
Mhm.
really guilty. So we got to make a little bit of a shift here. And I'm open to that. Because what you have in your head when it comes out on paper and you're pushing that envelope of tension, if the characters have shifted and there's a better motivation, then you have to address that, because I want people to guess,
Yes.
but also it has to be logical. And your best made plan, sometimes characters come out differently when you write them, or you
Mhm.
see that there's a much more sympathetic character that needs to be elevated. But every character that I put on the book, I want them to be a 3D-dimensional character. So you will get
All right.
something of them. They're not
Yes.
fillers. None of this is fillers. There's an importance of each of these people and why they're there as we go through the books.
Yes, and you read my mind, because that's where I was going next. Actually, the fact that these are fleshed out characters, and as we are learning of these gentlemen that are, and of course the ladies, we already know who they are, but the
Mhm.
gentlemen coming into this space, it's like each one has a backstory, and we get to see a little bit of that backstory. And it's just interesting because it makes me think of, spaces nowadays that you might call frenemies, because you got all these folks in a room together and they're having this annual get together. But when you start digging deeper, they really don't necessarily like one
They don't
another.
rock with each other, right? So that is to me the beautiful of these. We have, we're always worried as a woman, as a Black female, particularly, through my tech career, getting that seat at the table. Am I being excluded? What's happening? And then you get to the table and you find out these folks is just as messy and just terrible individuals. And you might be risking your life or your career to be at this table when you really shouldn't be at that table. You should let
Right.
them have it. So it's like I want that to kind of play out, because Abigail is trying to find her space. What is her space? What legacy is she going to leave? How does she affect and do these different things? So it's important. And, it would be a disservice to have all these characters and they're only there just to support the main thread. I like a fully fleshed out character. I want you to sink your teeth into these characters so that you have an opinion, because
Right.
if he's flat, you may not have an opinion, and all of a sudden he's the mastermind behind it. No, I want you to be analyzing their motives, their access, who could have gotten in and do certain things, because to me that makes the story dynamic. It makes it for an exciting read.
Yes, yes. And also, it is very exciting read. But thinking of, yes, every character is fleshed out. Some, after they're gone, we learn more about who they are. But others, in the midst of them
Mhm.
traversing through the story, but also pinpointing people's weaknesses and
Mhm.
how that plays into how they might leave here.
Exactly, exactly. So what part of my fun, and it's very subtle, is Abby is telling you this story for the most part. But
Right.
when I switch POVs and it's somebody else, that somebody else is not long for the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the murder, especially the first victim. I want you to meet that victim before
Right.
they die. I want you to understand how they are seeing the world from their perspective, and then there's his death. And typically, if it makes sense within the flow, you'll get that moment again when it's the next victim. So you're seeing what's happening. So you're gathering the clues from their perspective to somewhat help it's the mystery goes along. So just a little bit of author fun there, because
Yes,
I switch PLVs, just count, just get the popcorn out is all.
Right. And keep that list available, and highlight, bookmark, tab it, whatever. It can be like, wait a minute, I remember. Okay, and now I remember.
Exactly.
Because there are things going on. So yes, this is not necessarily the thing that you can just like breeze through it without thinking about it, because you'll miss some things if you don't, take that time and energy. We have a question from Cleta. During your writing, I'm imagining you have a roadmap. When your characters change up on you, how difficult is it to rewrite the map? Good question. Thank you, Cleta.
Usually, at the very beginning, I think of a story as a beginning, middle, and end. And there's typically a climax that happens between the middle and the end. But on my grand map, every character, I need to know what their goals are at the beginning, their relationship status, their belief system, and typically everybody believes a lie. You're told something when you're young, and unless you're healed of it, it's your frame of reference. So particularly like if you're a girl and they say, hey, you're smart enough for a girl, or something to that effect. Every time you hear a compliment, it's back in that lens. And until if somebody says something about your appearance, it's always in that lens until you're healed of it. So I map those out at the very beginning. So that's how you get really complex characters, because you know that. And then that's going to change as you move through, because maybe something happens in the story and they're closer to their goal, or they're farther away from their goal. Something will happen in those relationship status, an argument or something like this. Same with the belief system, that you either get deeper in your beliefs or you begin to question things, and you map that through. So when a character starts acting up, you know it quicker than the end. So you kind of sometimes you have to go with it, but you make notes. This character is now this one is showing more is easy. Her feelings are hurt more easily. There's something about this character where the feelings are he'll and maybe that was, she was pushed to the edge, and that's why she killed X, Y, and Z. So you keep these in mind with the motives that a potential person may have, because it's motive and access that equals murder. And you can have great motive but no access. So if I haven't put somebody in a position, because I'm moving them across the thing, that they're not a position to have killed, then it doesn't matter how much motivation you have, they're not going to be the one. So it's a grid. Think of it as a live system. And so there's inputs coming in, inputs coming out, and you'll make changes. I put a lot of pre-thought, so the changes doesn't happen dynamically. It's like I haven't just and knock on some fake wood or something, some processed wood. It hasn't changed on me so dramatically. I have to go do a significant rewrite. It's usually, in that last third of the book, they have all had access, but this motivation is so much better than what I originally imagined. They have to be the one who did it, and those kind of things. So that's how my frame is, and that's how I hopefully will always deliver three-dimensional characters to you. Even background players are three-dimensional characters.
Yes, because I'm thinking about, in this book, some of the background players, they had their own little story as well. And I like the idea of that, because oftentimes, I'm thinking of television, or it could even be in a book. It feels like you get thrown into the middle of a story and you're supposed to automatically, understand these people, or fall in love with these people, or dislike these people. And there's not enough meat there for you to really make a true decision. And I mean, I know sometimes we do that in real life. We make a snap decision, but in a story, it's good to be able to understand. We're like, oh, okay. So even sometimes if someone does something terrible, we're like, ooh, I don't like what you did, but I kind of understand why you did it.
Exactly. So like when you get to this one, you might not like everything that happened, but you understand why.
Happening. Yes, because one of the characters who leaves early, I'm not going to say which one, but it's like, ooh, that person was a. So I can understand why people didn't like or want to rock with that person, because they weren't, just didn't appear to be a good person, for most of the reasons. But getting a little more backstory, you can, okay. Still, you may or may not like that person, but at least you understand why.
Exactly.
Yeah, in writing and in your own life, absolutely. Exactly. Because it's amazing how sometimes, just quick sidebar, you can meet somebody and think you don't like them, then you get to know them, then you realize, oh, okay, I actually do like you.
Yeah, they were just having a bad day that day.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. And, and giving people grace and that sort of thing. So, but one of the things, back to Abby, Lady Abigail Worthing, I love that she is as she's grown and in the different books, and now it's like she's really fleshing out who she wants to be, how she wants to show up in the world, thinking about making difficult decisions. And I like that because that's real. For women, Black women at any age and stage. But I love that she, even throughout the story, the men are like, oh, you're going to say what you think. Like, yeah, I am going to say what I think. So I love that.
Yeah.
And I know in all of your books, you have a woman who has strength of character and all of these things. So how important is it for you? And I probably already know, but I just want you to share with us that you always have strong, quote unquote, strong women in your books. How important is it for you to present us in that way?
So often in history, in other fiction, we're the supporting character. Right. We are the wise talking grandma. We are the best friend. We need to have main character energy. We are the main character. So I'm going to write a woman who may not know her full strength when you meet her, but you can see the potential. And she will have enough boldness and courage that she's going to do what she's called to do when it's time. I think we need to see that more.
Yes.
In all the different genres, we need to see women who own their mistakes, who own their flaws, who empower other women, and have the courage to live their lives, because these women did. There are so many cases of things you find in history that haven't been written about, haven't been told. And we need to see that. We absolutely need to see that. And so it's very important to me that we craft these stories, that these stories are made available. So request Lady Worthing in your library out there.
Yes.
Buy them, suddenly on newsstands, you can definitely buy.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3, all three. All three. Absolutely. And for this particular one, the audio is coming out, is it next month? For those who like
October
to do audio?
15th.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, no, I guess it is technically next month because today is the 30th. But
I know. And wait a minute. It's sickle cell anemia awareness is the last day of the month, 30 days, I think. We have 30 in September, right? Yeah, tomorrow's October 1st, so we're good. But yeah, so it's an ancient disease. It still hasn't been solved. There's some promising techniques, but it's people are still suffering. So make sure everybody knows about sickle cell anemia. John Hopkins, St. Luke's, there's a number of different places, and then National Society of Anemia, Sickle Cell Anemia Awareness. Give to these organizations and help out.
At any time, not just in the month of September. So
Exactly.
And Laura's saying, today is also Orange Shirt Day. Not many people know their origin. Tell us in the comments, for those who don't know.
Yes, is that going back to the Bolsheviks? Is that a Bolsheviks day, Laura? Does that go back to that, the orange shade, or is that orange? Because there's an orange rebellion, so it may not be associated. So you're working with the random associations of history that's up here.
Yes, please tell us, Laura, so that we can all be informed. But
Mhm.
of course, we've already talked a little bit about Haiti. And I know that
Mm.
you always in your books include something that goes back to those islands and the people of those islands and showing their strength and their courage and all of that. So I know a little bit, but for those who may not know, what is it that draws you to want to focus in on those particular stories or points in history?
So I am very fortunate. I have a father. My father was from Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain. He's a storyteller, so he would tell us all these very rich stories of women doing exciting things, leading rebellions, building businesses, all these different things. And my mom's a literature girl, so she's telling me about you're going to know Baldwin, you're going to know Shakespeare,
Mhm.
Zora. You're going to read all of these different things, and so you get this melding of of this cultural richness plus story and rich storytelling with literature. So you get this kind of melding and merging. And these stories need to be told. If when I started writing, I was doing revolutionary things allegedly because people didn't know the history of
Right.
Black women, women of color being in the Regency. Most people assume that it was, kings and queens in Africa, spaceship take us up and then drop us back down in American slavery for 1865 just to be liberated.
Wow. Wow.
They don't understand that the whole world is powered by the West Indies. Every
Mm.
time you have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, sugar, sweets, all these different things, clothing, textiles. It was typically coming from somewhere in the West Indies. And Haiti is especially important.
Mhm.
Haitians fought in the American Revolution. Okay.
Yes.
Before securing their own, they were helping in the American Revolution. Haiti is the only country to win against a world power and then have to pay reparations to the world
Right.
power.
Yes.
And every country at different points turns against Haiti because that idea of these people of color pulling together, throwing off the chains was uh, disruptive to the economic
Mhm.
flow of all of these various nations. So our history class is missing so much. And,
Mhm.
Haiti gets a raw deal.
Yes,
I
it
cannot
still
look
is.
can't look at the Eiffel Tower the same anymore because I
Yeah.
know that's where a lot of the banks that were financing and refinancing this terrible debt, the profits went to building the Eiffel Tower.
Mm.
So,
See, no, you don't
and
know. 'Cause yeah, yeah.
uh, if you ca- if the billions had been invested in Haiti instead of having to pay, you would have it, a rival power in our hemisphere. It would have the sciences and the technologies. Queen of Exiles, if for those who don't know, should ask you that promise because you will see that when after Dessalines is killed, Haiti splits into two. It's a kingdom in the north. It's a republic in the south. And for 10 years, the same 10 years of the Regency, they're bringing vaccination programs to
Mhm.
their young. They're bringing in the top scholars in science and ballet and all these different things to enrich the culture and to move the people forward. And King Henri is literally making the diplomatic rounds and gets allies in Russia, has allies in England, United States. Background people are helping out, but the
Mhm.
government has a particular political stance against it. If the kingdom had survived, if the kingdom had, I think you would see a completely different vision of Haiti. But it did
Mhm.
not. And the Republic wins, and everything that the kingdom did, they undid. They left their country unprotected, and so when France comes back, there's no more strong men to protect the country, and they capitulate. And that capitulation is the resultant of where Haiti is today, paying off these debts, the world abandoning it. And so we need to know this history. Sister Mother Warrior will take you through the revolution and show you 50 years of women doing things to try and become free. And then you go to Queen of Exile. So you're going to see a woman, everybody love Bridgerton. I love Bridgerton. But if you want to see a Queen Louise, how she moves and operates in the world, and how she rebuilds her late husband's fortune, and how she raises her daughters on the world stage as princesses, it's an amazing, true story that needs to be covered.
Yes, and everyone, I suggest you pick up, just go Google Vanessa Riley and find all of those books. And then also on BGC Book Club, we have talked about a couple of those books in previous conversations. So I'll make sure I share those or add those links so you can go back and look at those previous conversations. But just real quick before we dive back in, because we only got about 15 minutes left, believe it or not, I do want to go back to what Laura was talking about Orange Shirt Day. Native American children were herded into schools and stripped of their Native identities. This one child was given a brand new beautiful orange shirt to wear as he left to go to the new school, where he was immediately stripped of that shirt. So that's what the Orange Shirt Day is about. So thank you for sharing that, because that's more history.
Thank you.
That's more history. It's just interestingly enough, I was having a conversation with a friend before you and I came on, and we were talking about, making sure that from American history that we also include the indigenous people, because there's so many, there's ties.
Absolutely. And I cannot wait till more indigenous writers tell those stories. Because the history, the culture, it will be amazing. And everyone needs to read it. It is so important.
I understand. But Murder in Berkley Square, we'll go back to that, because there are just so many things in here. Another thing that you focus on in this book is that you talk about military men, and there are several of the characters in this book that have been in the military. You are married to a military man, so you have. I was reading in your author notes that you've had a bunch of military men in your family. So I love you paying homage to those men, and especially the Black men who have fought in pretty much every war that you can imagine.
Absolutely. So there's a character there. Two of them fought in Valley Forge. And they were on the English side. So, don't get too happy, but they were on the English side fighting in Valley Forge. And you see snippets of them in this. They're somewhat reunited in this book. There are so many wars. Like, my specialty is somewhere between 1750 1830s. I call it the freedom years. Everybody and their mama is at war at some point. Those darn Americans, the French, the Haitians, interfaith, Capuchins, Franciscans, Jesuits, they're at war, and they're all within Catholicism. And then every island is having rebellions, because everybody wants freedom their way and refuses to explain or to understand why somebody else deserves freedom. And so you get this mishmash, and of all these wars, there are dozens of veterans who are coming back, and their worlds may be changed because of injuries they may have that they survived, or they find their wife is gone, they find their children have gone. How do they survive in a world that doesn't have a VA administration? They at certain points they decided that the veterans should have some sort of income for serving, but it took a long time to get a lot of these different things in place, in position. So, I love veterans. There is a special heart of somebody who is willing to put on the uniform to fight for freedom, to fight for their country. And so, if at all possible, I love putting veterans in, especially if we can get to understand the ramifications of what they've done, what they've survived, and how they're moving forward. If we can do something on that, I think it's especially important.
Yes, yes. Now, I am a veteran, a female veteran, obviously. I'm a veteran as well. So thank you.
I
Because
love
there
it.
are
Thank you for your service.
yes, yes. I was in the Air Force for 7 years. But yes, I mean, it is important. People don't realize, what it takes. And I was blessed to never be in, a war zone. I was blessed in that manner, but
You
there
were
just
probably
is
in support, though. You were probably in
yeah,
support of several war
yeah.
zones.
Yes, yes. So yes, just
Mhm.
because I definitely was a part of all of that. So let's see what Laura is saying. Oh, conflicts philosophically as they may see things now from different perspectives, causing alienation. Yes, because when you see
Mm.
different parts of the world,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
changes your perspective.
Exactly. Because
Hmm.
when in school, going back to Haiti, we got this little scant bit of the Haitian story, and it was Dessalines was a madman, and all this killing that happened. What you don't see is it was a response to what was happening on the ground. Rochambeau, who his father, we all say, woo, he helps. His son was a crazy man, and he
Hmm.
was killing people like he was Caesar with like dogs and things like that, and then throwing, drowning in chains 10,000 people a week in the
Hmm.
Haitian harbor. So, but we don't hear any of that,
Right.
and so there needs to be more stories. There needs to be more spotlighting so that Americans can understand, or even the world can understand, how we actually have a much more unified history than people want to think about.
It's true.
And everybody wants a measure of respect. Everybody wants a measure of freedom. And everybody should value service.
Yes.
I think those are common ideals. And good fiction helps people see that, puts them in different positions.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to bring these types of stories to illuminate them. And like I said, I love putting vets uh, in the books. Now they're gonna be, some of them gonna be messed up. I will put it that way. Some
Of
of them
course,
will
I
have
mean,
some messed
human.
up. I'm just
They're
putting
human.
it out.
They're human. But
Yeah.
another thing that I was thinking as I was reading this book is that, there were certain lines or certain situations that came up that really parallel some things that are happening in real time. And to me, it just shows how history repeats itself, whether it's, two different factions fighting to be, in control, or, wanting to put women in a certain space while men are in a different space, all those sorts of things. So is that something that you are cognizant of when you're writing, or it's just a function of what history has been, or a combination?
It's a combination because, the politics of the past are incredibly different. And that's one of the reasons I spotlight this whole push for abolition, because there are times where folks are making these, watering down these bills or changing these bills because of the political mood, political appetite, not right and wrong, as we like to go back and look at things. Um, but I you every author will put a little bit of themselves in whatever they write. They cannot help themselves. But I
Right.
try to be as faithful to the accurate positioning of what people did, what people were thinking, but we will put other people in those instances to kind of question and always reiterate, is, yes, that's true, that actually happened, what was it, right?
Mm, mm, mm.
Because I think we have a responsibility. There are purists when telling certain stories that only want to do the facts, and people can get encyclopedias for that.
Right.
I want to win hearts, so there will be some element of fiction in there, but the basic bones are going to be there. And if we can challenge ideas that have lasted so long and are still, you see them now, women should do this, men should do this, men have this sort of dominance on whatever, aspects of women's health, et cetera, et cetera. How do we challenge that in this frame? Because these same questions came up,
Yes.
and things like that. How do we push that envelope? So always we are centered in the storytelling of the history. But if we can shine mirrors
Right.
We're going to find mirrors. We're going to point to things so that people can sit back as part of their discussion of, because every book you read changes you. And
That's so true.
that should be part of your thing. Hey, wait a minute. People are trying to put me back in this box. It looks a little different because we're in the 2020s, but that's the same forces are trying to put me into this box. How do I
Mm.
respond to that? So it's incredibly important. And reading is political. Reading used to put women, if they that was a reason to put you in Bedlam. Think about that.
Mhm.
My wife
Mhm.
was reading, so she's in Bedlam. No, she's in Bedlam because you want to go sneak around with some other women and you're tired of her fussing at you. That's why you put her in Bedlam. That's why. But
Right.
because so it's everything is political, but you're coming for a story, and we're going to give you the story. We'll give you the facts, and if we can, we'll just shine mirrors to show you different aspects.
Yes, that's something. Yes, the women, and then of course we know as Black people, African Americans, but here and I'm sure in other places as well, we weren't even allowed to read. So just the mere fact that we're reading, that we're becoming literate, all these sorts of things, it's a problem.
Yes.
It's a problem. It still is for some people. So
Yes.
yeah, so
Unfortunately.
I love it. And Mina said earlier, I didn't want to not mention it, but she said she has all three of the books: Sister, Mother, Warrior, Island Queen, and of course, Queen of Exile. She said her favorite is Island Queen. So yes,
Love
those are
it.
some
Love it.
other
Love it.
books
Love
to
it.
pick up. And thank you, Cleta. She said, really enjoying this conversation. Yes, it's like a group of friends sitting around with a glass of wine. Yes, it is, Cleta. And funny that you say that, because my nail technician, she watches and she always says, "The girl, I went and got my glass of wine. I just sat and pulled y'all."
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, that is the vibe we are going for here.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But believe it or not, we are almost at time,
Mhm.
Vanessa. So, question: will there be another Lady Worthing mystery, or are you moving on into some other things, or what can we expect?
I think there has to be, based on that last epilogue. You might not have gotten to the epilogue yet, or you might be playing coy, but there might be a reason we need to yeah, there might be a reason. So yes, there shall be. But I think we're taking a little break for maybe a year ish.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay. Yes.
because
These have kind of these have been come close together. So okay.
yes. Yeah. So we're gonna pay
So
now
even
we've
though you
established the
catch,
world. So we're gonna take a little pacing. But yeah, I'd love 30 books in this world. I think it's fun
yes,
and
and that would be
exciting. And
good though.
there's a lot of mess in this world too. I put through kitchen sink up in this thing. So
But I mean, we think about it like Murder She Wrote. Oh, did you see I used that song on
yes,
I used that song on
murder she wrote.
Instagram. But
I
yeah,
love it.
I had to
I
throw that in.
absolutely, absolutely love it.
But I mean, you think of that like Agatha Christie in several stories,
Mhm,
Murder She Wrote. There are a lot of mystery writers who definitely do series, and it could
mhm.
be you could go on, for indefinitely, until that character is no longer here, and you're pretty much
Exactly.
and telling
Exactly.
those stories. So I love that, and definitely we do need another one after this one ends. But y'all got to read it. We're not gonna tell
Yeah.
you why. And I was being coy, but yes. We're not going to tell you why, but yes, definitely to continue it. So, well, I know that when you're finishing up or in the process of promoting one thing, oftentimes you're in the midst of something else. Is there something else coming between now and the next? Because I know you stay writing. You are a writing sister.
Yes, yes. So a wager at midnight comes out in March of 2026. No, 25.
Okay.
Whatever next year is. It comes out next year.
25. Mhm.
And that's book 2 in the Gamble at Sunset series. So you're going to find out. So there's a bet going on in that series between the Duke and the Lady Hampton, the woman he's always loved, who was tricked into marrying somebody else, who's now a
Mm,
widow with with allegedly 3 sisters. Just putting it out there.
allegedly.
Allegedly 3 sisters, and he's gonna find husbands for all of them except for the youngest one. Um,
Mm.
And this one, guys, it's the Trinidadian doctor and Scarlett, who is our STEM girl who likes to dress up in men's clothing to go to the medical lectures. It's wars between the Trinis and the Jamaicans in this one.
All right.
And in the context, once again, of the Regency. So it's a bunch of fun, boys and girls.
Yeah, Mina said she already pre-ordered. So okay, Mina is a
Thank
super
you,
fan.
Mina. I love you, Mina.
Mina, let us know where you are. So perhaps if Vanessa's, as she's traveling, she can meet you. Let us know where you are.
and Mina, if you email me your address or email Marcy your address, I will send you book plates for those books.
Okay, well, let me put my email address up there. Hold on 1 second. I got all kinds of stuff going on here, girl. Let me make sure I got right. Okay, yes. If you send it to me, it's editor@browngirlcollective.com. Mina, you can do that. Or, you can reach out to Vanessa through her website or social, but that's mine. And that's for anybody, really. If you are an author and would like to be featured, or if you know an author you would like to see in this space, this
Marcy
is the
takes
best.
good care of you. She takes
Yes,
great care.
I do my best. I love my writers. And, Vanessa and I have met in person because we're both here in ATL. So that's always good to do that and, be able to support and hug necks and all that stuff. So Absolutely. She said, okay, cool. So yes, please let us know. And then that way we can make sure you get your book plates and, hopefully get a chance to meet Vanessa in person. Because if you follow her on the socials, she's a lot of fun. Are you still doing, is it Fridays that you were doing like lives or something like that? Are you still doing those?
We still do the craziness, yeah. So every Friday, Pat Simmons, Angela Anderson, and I, we do this thing that we started during the pandemic. We were accidentally checking to see if a Zoom would work, and people were watching us. So now we come every Friday, and it's just us goofing around. We talk books, we talk whatever's happening in the world. And it's a bunch of foolery. I'll just tell you about it. So it's a goofy moment, but it's a lot of fun. Just it's a burn off steam and it's funny foolery. But yeah, I love social media. Let me do it. It's a love-hate relationship with social media. But anything we can do to get folks checking these books out, spotlighting. And so, Marcy, I want to thank you for all you do for writers, for spotlighting us, for giving us this moment. We appreciate it. You make a difference. And, that's very important.
Thank you. That means a lot. Because, I last week I actually celebrated a birthday. And one of the things that I said is that, for all that's been happening, it's like next level is like the goal. So definitely, I appreciate you. And it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to support people like you. Thank you. Folks like jealous. I'm like, I get to meet all the good ones. Don't hate. So it's like, but I do this from a place of love. It's definitely that it's a passion. I love to read, as you can see, looking behind me. And actually, in the last couple of months, I added 2 more bookshelves and still am out of space. So, I just love to read just that much, and being able to support the Black women writers that I know and love and have read for years and followed their careers and be able to play a small part, that means a lot. So, and thank you to those of you who watch, because we need you too. We're all needed. And like Vanessa was saying, pre-order books, which I've seen some of you are saying that you have pre-ordered. Pretty RJ said she was going to read and review the book. Reach out to your libraries and make sure that they get copies as well, because everybody may not be able to purchase a book, but that is another way for people to be able to get those books and share them. And of course, audios and all that. There are a lot of different ways that we can get them, but do them, share them, and let people know about Vanessa Riley, because you got over 25 titles, and I've only talked to you about a few. Over 25, y'all. So I mean, she's not playing any games when it comes to this writing thing. So
I try.
Now, I do have a quick question. Are you still like doing other work, or are you full-time writing now?
I'm full-time writer right now. Every so often I get called off to do some consulting on this, that, and the other thing. But for the most part, I am 100% writing.
Oh, that's good.
And we've got titles already set up for 2026. So the next historical fiction.
All right. Well, you got my number. You know how to reach me.
I will, because it's a hot one. You're gonna like this.
Okay.
Let's just say piracy.
Okay. Ooh, wow. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
So thank you again for joining us, and we appreciate you. Thanks to everyone for your participation. Please get the book, review it, share this out so more people can see this conversation and just learn more about this book series, as well as all of Vanessa's just wonderful work. We do appreciate you. So Vanessa, I'm gonna let you get a sip of water, and as I say goodbye to everybody else. So thank you again, but don't you hang up just yet.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was such a pleasure, as always, to talk to Vanessa Riley, because she is a wonderful writer. She's a brilliant mind. She's just fun to talk to, just in general. I need to get with her since she's in my city, and I'm saying this. You can hear me, Vanessa. We need to just get together and have like a girls' night out and just laugh and kiki and do all of that, because I'm sure that would be a lot of fun. So to everyone, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Next week, I have 2 Suzettes. There'll be more information coming about that, but basically it's 2 writers by the name of Suzette who have done they're actually in the process of doing a series of novellas, and they're going to be here next week to talk about the first 2 books in that series. So look for the information on that coming here real soon. And I hope that you'll come back and continue to watch and follow and support all of these wonderful Black women writers. So until next time, you all have a great rest of the evening, morning, afternoon, depending on what time you're watching. And we look forward to seeing you here again real soon. Take good care.